When in Rome, you might actually find the 2019 WRC champion, but you might also accidentally find that the event is getting upgraded from ERC to WRC for 2027. So with that in mind, let's talk about the final edition for now in the ERC of Rally di Roma Capitale. And we'll start off with an official entry list that is over 100 strong, all the way down the rallying pyramid. Not appearing on the entry list is Itinerary, who's rumoured to be running the GR Yaris Rally 2 test car as the zero car for the event, pending FIA approval. This is supposedly to gather data for next year's event. It just, further spools up the rumours that Oitanak might return to the Toyota fold for 2027. However, the lead person on the entry list is somebody who we've seen in a Yaris, but is currently in a Fabia. And that is Teemu Suninen, number 1 on the entry list, followed by reigning ERC champion Mika Marcek, followed by Hiroki Arai, who, according to the entry list, is not entered for the ERC, but is still the 3rd seed in the start order. After that, we have Gian Domenico Basso, who is behind the wheel of a Fabia this year. We last saw him at round 1 in Spain. Then we have Isaac Rierson, Andrea Mabellini, Simone Tempestini, Will Crichton, Jakob Matulka, Tuukka Kolpanen, Dominic Strzelecki, Tristan Charpentier, Marco Bellaccia, Pierre Rag, Eric Seiss, Johan Rossell, who's going to be running a Lancia, as is Nikolai Grajin. They are the WRC regulars. Typically, you'd be expected to talk about more like someone like Andrea Mabellini, but Lancia is doing Lancia things. That's the best way to describe it. And just absolutely stacking that entry list. Because then we see Johan Bonato. And then we see, for FFSA, interestingly, a Hyundai and a Citroen for Arthur Pellenborg and Pablo Sarrazin. Then we have Andrea Cagnola with another Lancia, another Works Lancia. Roberto Dapra in a Fabia. Simone Campidelli behind the wheel of a Yaris. Bosjan Avelj, who is running under Italian flag again this year, behind the wheel of a Fabia. He's been very competitive the last couple of years, but has been running into a couple of different incidents. And then you have a variety of different names you might recognise from various scenes. Andolfi you might recognise, but then we've also got to talk about the remainder of the Rally 2 class. Antonio Rusk, Liberato Sulpizio, Benjamin Bulenk, Vittorio Sasato, Filippo Marcino, Miller Johansson, Roberto Black, Elliot Delacour, Gabor Nemet, Louis Constant, Andre Gertefan, Adrian Mosca, Maciej Mandela, Job Luth, Carlos Peralta del Rio. That is the official Rally 2 entries who are entered for ERC 1. Going into ERC 3, that's led off by Lukas Zielinski, then Ville Vatanen, CJ Coleman, Petr Kaczarek, Maximilian Lichtenegger, Callum Graffin, Craig Royhill, Kian Caldwell, Charles Tootill, Igor Vidwak, Sebastian Batinski, Bajay Gajda, Alexandra Maria Teslavan, who I believe is stepping up for Rally 4, correct? Robert Proudlock, Matteo Fontana, who we've seen win WRC stages outright this year, and Nicholas Otto. In the ERC 4, we have a blend of Rally 4 and Rally 5 cars this time around, led off by Philip Shiposh, then Timo Schultz, Tom Hendricks, Davide Pesavento, Colin Dunker, Tommaso Sandrin, Marcel Neulinger, Marcus Metelkis, Sebastian Dalla Piccola, Claire Schönborn, which is going to be brilliant to see. She's behind the wheel of an Opel Corsa Rally 4. This is the one of the FIA Women in Motorsport Initiative drivers. She ended up winning a JWRC ride against Licia Baudet last year in the Beyond Rally Initiative. Francesco De Cecchi, Ray Suleiman, Artu Hakaleto, Carl Peter Norstrand, Francesco Bacanela, Kyle McBride, Valentino Leda, Ludwig Ziglani, Alexandre Villiod, Moreno Cambiaghi, Eduardo De Antoni, Niccolo Addisoni, Simone Di Giovanni, Gianmarco Lazzarato, Emmanuel Fiore, Roberto Gobbin, Azia Vittori, and then rounding out the ERC4 entry list, we have Augusto Stepetti, Christian Cassidy, and Cyprian Daniel Lupu. We then have a bunch of non-championship entrants: Porrick Duffy, Andrea Nusita, Ivan Ferrarotti, Heikki Kovalainen, one of the top 10 fastest F1 drivers of all time according to AWS, by the wheel of a Citroen C3 for this event. Carmine Tribuzio, Sara Cara, Dean Mascarenas, Paolo Ricci, Gabriel Di Pietro, Christopher Lucchesi, Federico Francia, Michael Rendina, Mattia Vita, Lorenzo Lorellini, Federico Gangi, Carlo Colvi, Thibaut Tremmel, Jonas Müller, F.A. Urlandul, Paul Everard, Wolfgang Elarche, Arthur Roche, Alessandro Silvaghi, Kubra Denchi Keskin, Andrea Dinella, Manuel De Rossi, and Simona Rappa. The last two being in Rally 6 Lancia Ypsilons. I haven't seen those before, so it'll be interesting to see what they look like out on the stages. And as for the stages, we have 11 timed tests, as well as the qualifying shakedown test. Total special stage distance according to rallymaps.com is 197.02 kilometers, with a total of 887.74 kilometers of liaison, with one stage being run on the Friday, and then we have 6 over the course of the Saturday in 2 loops of 3, and then we have 4 stages in 2 loops of 2 on the Sunday. Friday's action kicks off with the Toscolo test, which is new for this year. It's the qualifying and shakedown test. Twisty, windy, a bit of a climb and a bit of a descent. It'll be nice for the spectators. There's a little bit of a kind of chicane around a roundabout in the later phases, and some nice little hairpins so we can see people using the handbrake. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a wooded area, and it takes place just to the southeast of Rome. And then we start off with Colosseo Acci Roma, the super special stage in Rome. We've had this the last few years, and at 1.3 kilometers it is unchanged from the one that we have actually seen for the last 3 years. I think with the addition of potentially a donut coming out of the run back down the Viale di Monte Oppio, this is very much the best embodiment of you can't win a rally on a super special, but you can certainly lose it. Someone is going to end up going horribly wrong there. Next up, we have the Valle Cupola test. 22.5 kilometers for starting off the Saturday action. That is new for this year. It has a steep ascent over the course of the first 6 kilometers, and then it starts to wind back down. Right near a lake at the start of the stage, around Castel di Tiora. It's going to be very picturesque. Second stage for Saturday's stages is Piana di Raschino. Again, seemingly, according to rallymaps.com, new for this year's event. So these are going to be some pretty good ones to get miles in for next year in the WRC. This one is 27.85 kilometers. Snakes around a bunch of mountains. So expect some interesting views. Expect lots of twists and turns. Potentially an elevation change of as much as 534 meters. Wild. The other Saturday test is Colle di Tiora Poggio Moiano, which again is all new this year. It is in a similar kind of region to the previous 2 tests, and yeah, picturesque, weaving between mountains, elevation change of about 400 meters from highest to lowest. Sunday, on the other hand, will have some stages that will be familiar to some drivers, or at least in some form. Monastero Monte Levata has been part of the Iene Monastero test in recent years, so that means that the first 7 kilometers is familiar to drivers, potentially the first 9 or 10 kilometers, depending on how much experience they have at this rally. However, at the very least, 14 kilometers of the stage will be new to competitors. And then as for Canterano Girano, 13.72 kilometers, it was run last year as part of the Canterano Subiaco test. That one was nearly 31 kilometers, this one at 13 kilometers. We'll end up borrowing the first 13 kilometers from that test last year. Twisty, turny, and yeah, one of the shorter blasts at just under 14k. It will double up as the power stage. As for last year, yeah, Domenico Basso was the winner from Andrea Mabolini by 3.7 seconds, and it was Mika Marchik rounding out the podium. It could have been Andrea Cagnola's win, but a 20-second penalty ended up dropping him all the way down to 5th. Elsewhere, we saw the remainder of the top 10 rounded out by Simona Capitale, Efren Lorena, Mans Osberg, Boštjan Abvelj, and Dominik Strzelecki. And yeah, Abvelj will be somebody to keep an eye on over the course of this event. Like I said, he's been fast, at least in the early parts of the last 2 editions of Rally di Roma Capitale. Basso is somebody to always keep an eye on. He's always going to be a threat no matter what machine he's going to be in. Marchik did well last year. He could be somebody who does well again this year. But we have to think about who the informed drivers are as well. The likes of Teemu Turunen is somebody who is in form. Andrea Mabolini is somebody who has been finding some more form. Will Crichton could end up showing some good performances here. And heck, if it ends up being something that could be decided by tyres, have a look at somebody like Dominik Strzelecki as a potential outsider. Also expect that some of the WRC regulars will end up being competitive. I'm thinking the Russells, the Grajins, the Bonatos, people who are trying to get some experience coming into next year. And expect some of the up-and-comers to be competitive. I'm thinking like Rierson or Johansson. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching and joining. Thank you for your continued support on this channel. And until next time, it's bye-bye for now.